Now, if I just move on to Pakistan, let me just say that, let me just touch on the real conundrum in Pakistan, not today and not yesterday, and but really for the last 60 years, has been, this is a country of 160 million people, the 7th largest army in the world, more than 500,000 soldiers, nuclear weapons. Yet this is a country that has not been able to work out its national security agenda. There are two completely conflicting views of national security in Pakistan. One is held by the military and the other by civilians. The one which is held by civilians is something that you will recognize. It's all about that national security depends on a good economy, on an educated population, on good neighborliness, trade with your neighboring countries, no conflict, a reduced military force, etc. Education, health, all the things that you would expect. This is what national security should depend upon. For the military, national security has the state has always been treated as a security state. In other words, the military has always felt that it is the only one which is in a position to guide the state, and national security is determined by the enemy, which is India. So we have to have a strong army, we have to develop nuclear weapons, we have to spend 30% of the budget on the military, and everything else has to be sidelined, including democracy, social development, and all the rest of it. Now, clearly, this concept of national security, in my opinion, in most countries went out of the window at the end of the Cold War, when the Cold War ended. And most countries in the Muslim world even, especially in the Far East woke up to the new reality that this obsession with security and security blocs and being on the Soviet side or the American side, etc., had now disappeared. Now we have to stand on our own feet and we have to make our economies and our countries work. This is not something, unfortunately, that penetrated into the minds of the military in Pakistan. So we are still living with this conundrum. Now, what has really been the cause for this explosion of Taliban in Pakistan has been for years and years, decades, extremist groups were part of the military's concept of foreign policy. The way to project and protect yourself against India or against the Soviets in Afghanistan was to have a front line of jihadis who would be willing to lay down their lives for Pakistan. So unfortunately, Pakistan has suffered between this ding-dong of bad military rulers who have led the country into an impasse, always led the country into a total political and regional and international impasse, or weak, unsuitable civilian governments which have not been prepared enough sufficiently in order to govern. So this is the dilemma that we face today, and the dilemma with which we have today two strands of government. We have an army which is in control of much of the foreign policy towards India, Afghanistan. We have a civilian government which would like improved relations with India and with Afghanistan, which would like to see an end to these jihadis and all the rest. But the military and the civilians are not talking from the same page.
During the day there was a third event taking place that nobody noticed, but that was mentioned by Asian Times. Most probably Ahmed Rashid is aware of it. And it says that the province of Nuristan, which is one of the eastern provinces of Afghanistan, is now under full control of the Taliban. It is the first province of the country which is in the hands of the Taliban. There is still one contingent of American troops in the capital, protecting the strategic spots, but the rest of the province is Taliban country. the 4 bases the American had in the province have been evacuated already a couple of weeks ago after a fierce battle that took place near Kaaitheater. Kaaitheater is a small town in the mountains which are formidable in Nuristan. It's really a very high country. It's also one of the only places in Afghanistan where there is still the jungle and where is the forest. It's also a perfect hiding place, and it is not only my opinion, but the opinion of some other people who are looking at this place, that the province of Nuristan could very well be the hiding place of Osama bin Laden. Nuristan is a very special province also because its population is very special. The Nuristanis are speaking maybe a dozen of languages. In one valley they don't understand what people in the other valley are speaking. Their villages are built one house on top of the other. A third of the population of Nuristan has blue eyes and is blonde, and the Nuristanis consider themselves to be descendants of the troops of Alexander the Great, which is saying something, in my opinion, very important about Afghanistan as the graveyard of world conquerors. He's stranded in Afghanistan, and the only way in which he succeeded to more or less get the country under control was by marrying a local princess. The British were defeated 3 times in the 19th century when they tried to expand their control from India. When Ahmed Rashid is saying that he is afraid they will come, the Afghans will think that the Western troops will go, I think, as far as Pashtun is concerned, which is the majority of the population of that country. Most of them are convinced this day is near. I mean by that, their mentality, their culture is such that they are not only fierce warriors, they never have been conquered, and they don't intend to let themselves be conquered. I think that's a major problem for occupying armies. And it was very interesting to hear Ahmed Rashid saying that it is most urgent that not only the military presence in Afghanistan will be maintained, but also that reconstruction is an absolute necessity. It's part of the enigmas President Obama is confronted with today. What is needed in Afghanistan now is both safety and prosperity. The problem is, what comes first? It's like the chicken and the egg. There is no development possible without safety. And there will not be safety without development.